The restaurant was one of those trendy downtown places with exposed brick and Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling. My brother Marcus had chosen it specifically because he knew I'd find it pretentious, which was exactly his style. Everything Marcus did was calculated to remind me of my place in the family hierarchy, firmly at the bottom. "So, Rachel," Marcus said, cutting into his $40 steak with the kind of precision that surgeons use. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Mom mentioned you're taking some kind of exam again? Another attempt at medical school?" I kept my eyes on my pasta, twirling the fork slowly. "Just a certification exam." "Another one?" My sister-in-law Jessica laughed, the sound sharp and unkind. "Honey, how many times have you failed these things? At some point you have to accept reality." "4 times," Marcus said helpfully, holding up 4 fingers like I was a child who needed a visual aid. "She's failed the MCT 4 times. That's got to be some kind of record." "Marcus," Mom said, but her tone was gentle, almost pitying. "Rachel's trying her best. Not everyone is cut out for medical school. There's no shame in that." "Exactly," Dad agreed, reaching for his wine. "Rachel, you're 28 years old. Maybe it's time to accept that medicine isn't your path. Have you thought about dental hygiene? Or radiography? Those are good medical-adjacent careers that don't require the same level of intellectual rigor." I took a sip of water, the glass cold against my palm. 10 years. 10 years of these dinners, these conversations, these casual assassinations of my character disguised as family concern. "I'm doing fine," I said quietly. "Are you though?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, his expression one of exaggerated concern. "Because from where I'm sitting you're nearly 30, still living in that tiny apartment, working some vague hospital job you never talk about, and repeatedly failing entrance exams. That doesn't sound fine. That sounds like someone who needs an intervention." "Marcus graduated magna cum laude from Princeton," Jessica added, placing her hand on my brother's arm. "Pre-law, then Yale Law School. He made partner at his firm by 32. That's what success looks like, Rachel. That's what happens when you're actually smart enough for your chosen field." "Jessica," I said calmly, "I didn't ask." "Don't be rude," Mom chided. "Jessica's just trying to help. We all are. Sweetheart, we love you but we're worried. This obsession with becoming a doctor. It's not healthy. You've been trying for a decade. At some point you have to face facts." "What facts?" I asked, though I knew exactly what was coming. "That you're not doctor material," Dad said bluntly. "You barely passed organic chemistry. You failed the MCT 4 times. Medical schools have rejected you, what, 6 times now? 7. Rachel, these institutions are telling you something. Maybe it's time to listen." My phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out slightly, just enough to see the screen. 2 texts from Dr. Morrison, head of cardiology. 1 from the hospital's chief of staff. All marked urgent with red exclamation points. "Really?" Marcus said, his voice dripping with disdain. "We're at a family dinner, Rachel. Can't whatever minimum wage hospital job you have wait for an hour?" "It might be important," I murmured. "It's never important," Jessica said. "That's the thing about entry-level positions. You're replaceable. Unlike Marcus, when his firm calls, it actually matters. Lives and millions of dollars are at stake." I silenced my phone and slipped it back into my pocket. The text would have to wait. This was family time after all. This was what I'd driven across town for on a Friday night. To be reminded that I was a disappointment, a failure, someone who couldn't cut it in the field I'd supposedly chosen. "You know what I think?" Marcus said, and I knew from his tone that I didn't want to hear it but would have to anyway. "I think you're addicted to the idea of being a doctor because it sounds prestigious. But you don't actually have what it takes. You want the status without doing the work." "That's not fair," Mom said softly. "Rachel works very hard." "At what?" Marcus challenged. "She won't even tell us what her job title is. She says she works at Metropolitan General, but doing what? Taking patient histories? Filing paperwork? Come on, Rachel. What exactly do you do all day?" "I work in surgery," I said quietly. "As what?" Jessica pressed. "A surgical technician? An assistant? There's no shame in that, but let's be honest about what it is. You're not a surgeon. You're not even a nurse. You're support staff." My phone buzzed again. Then again. I pulled it out and saw 5 new messages, all from different departments at the hospital. Dr. Morrison, need you SAP. Chief of Staff, emergency case. Head nurse, Dr. Cooper, patient in distress. Dr. Cooper. My actual name. My actual title. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Marcus said, gesturing at my phone. You can't even put that away for one family dinner. You're so desperate to feel important that you jump every time your phone rings. Maybe I should take this, I said, standing up. Sit down, Dad said firmly. Whatever it is can wait. We're having a family conversation about your future, and you need to participate in it. My future is fine. Your future is non-existent, Marcus interrupted. You're almost 30, Rachel. You have no career prospects, no advancement opportunities, no relationship because you spend all your time pretending to study for exams you'll never pass. This is an intervention. We're trying to help you. I don't need help, I said, my voice tighter than I'd intended. Yes, you do, Jessica said, and she actually sounded sincere, which somehow made it worse. Rachel, I work in HR. I see resumes all day long. When someone's been studying for med school for 10 years with nothing to show for it, that's a red flag. That tells employers you're not goal-oriented, not realistic about your abilities, not someone they want to hire. Good thing I'm not job hunting then, I said. But you should be, Mom said earnestly. Honey, you should be looking for a real career. Something stable. Something you're actually qualified for. Have you thought about healthcare administration? Or medical records? You could still be around medicine without having to, She trailed off delicately. Without having to be smart enough to actually practice it? I finished for her. Don't put words in my mouth, Mom said, looking hurt. I'm trying to be supportive. This is support? I asked quietly. Telling me I'm not smart enough, not qualified enough, not good enough? It's called being realistic, Marcus said. Look, I get it. You want to be a doctor. That's admirable. But wanting something doesn't make you capable of achieving it. I want to be an astronaut, but I don't spend 10 years failing NASA applications and calling it dedication. Marcus is right, Dad said. Rachel, you need to let this dream go. It's becoming pathological. You're wasting your life chasing something you'll never catch. My phone started ringing. Dr. Morrison's number. I declined the call, but immediately another came through from the ER. Answer it, Marcus said with exaggerated magnanimity. Clearly your filing job needs you urgently. We'll wait. I answered the call, turning slightly away from the table. Dr. Cooper. Dr. Cooper, thank God. It was Dr. Morrison, and his voice was tight with urgency. We have a critical situation. Marcus Foster just came into the ER with severe chest pains. EKG shows ST elevation. We're looking at a major myocardial infarction. He needs immediate catheterization, possibly emergency bypass. I need you here now. The restaurant suddenly felt very far away. Marcus Foster. You're certain? Positive. 34-year-old male, attorney. Wife says he's been having chest pains all evening but refused to come in until they became unbearable. Dr. Cooper, his LAD is almost completely blocked. If we don't operate in the next hour, we're looking at massive cardiac damage or death. I closed my eyes briefly. My brother. My insufferable, condescending brother who'd spent the last hour explaining why I'd never be a doctor. The universe had an incredible sense of timing. I'm 15 minutes away, I said. Prep the cath lab. Get the surgical team ready. And Dr. Morrison? Make sure someone explains to the family exactly what we're dealing with. Complete transparency. Understood. The wife is here, Jessica Foster. Should I mention you're the surgeon? Not yet. I'll handle that when I arrive. I ended the call and turned back to the table. Everyone was watching me with varying expressions of annoyance and impatience. I have to go, I said simply. There's an emergency. Of course there is, Marcus said, rolling his eyes. Let me guess, they need someone to sterilize equipment? File some urgent paperwork. Something like that, I said, grabbing my coat. This is ridiculous, Jessica said. Marcus is trying to help you and you're running away from the conversation. I'm not running from anything, I said. I have an emergency at the hospital. They have other staff, Dad said dismissively. Whatever menial task they need you for, someone else can handle it. This one requires me specifically, I said, already moving toward the door. Wait, Mom called. Rachel, please. We're just trying to help you. Can't you see that? I paused at the door looking back at my family. Mom's concerned face. Dad's disappointment. Jessica's pity. And Marcus, my brother, sitting there with his Princeton degree and his Yale law credentials and his absolute certainty that he was better than me in every measurable way. I see exactly what you're trying to do, I said quietly. I've seen it for 10 years. But I really do have to go. Enjoy your dinner. I heard Marcus mutter something about drama queen as I left, but I was already out the door, already calling my driver to bring the car around, already mentally preparing for the surgery ahead. The drive to Metropolitan General took 12 minutes. I used every second of it, reviewing Marcus's likely condition in my head, considering surgical approaches, calculating risks. A major LAD blockage in a 34-year-old meant there were probably underlying factors: stress, poor diet, possibly genetic predisposition. I'd have to review his full medical history. My phone rang continuously. Dr. Morrison updating me on Marcus's deteriorating condition. The anesthesiology team confirming readiness. The cath lab coordinator verifying equipment. Through it all, I maintained the calm that had gotten me through hundreds of surgeries, thousands of critical decisions. Dr. Cooper, the security guard said as I entered through the physician's entrance. Heard about the Foster case. Good luck. Thanks, James. I changed into scrubs in my private office. The corner office on the cardiac floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The walls held my credentials. MD from Stanford, cardiothoracic surgery residency at Johns Hopkins, board certifications in both cardiac and thoracic surgery, the Distinguished Service Award from the American College of Surgeons. 10 years of work of building Metropolitan General's cardiac program from good to exceptional. But my family had never seen this office. They'd never seen any of it. For 10 years I'd kept my professional life completely separate from my family, specifically to avoid conversations like the one I'd just left. If they didn't know I was a surgeon, they couldn't mock my failures or diminish my achievements. They could just think I was a failure, period, and I could ignore them while I saved lives. Dr. Morrison met me outside the cath lab. He's stable for now, but barely. The blockage is severe, 95% occlusion of the LAD. We're looking at emergency CAP if the angioplasty doesn't work. What did you tell the wife? Just that he needs immediate intervention and that we're waiting for the chief of cardiac surgery to arrive. He's terrified. Keeps asking why there's a delay, why we can't just start. There's no delay now, I said. Let's go. I scrubbed in methodically, the familiar ritual centering me. Through the window into the cath lab I could see Marcus on the table, unconscious, vulnerable. All his confidence and condescension stripped away, reduced to a body with a failing heart that needed my expertise to survive. The irony was almost too perfect. Dr. Cooper, one of the residents said nervously, I've never seen an LAD blockage this severe in someone this young. What's our approach? We attempt angioplasty first, I said calmly. But be prepared for emergency bypass. Have the surgical suite on standby. This could go either way. The procedure took 3 hours. 3 hours of intense, delicate work, threading a catheter through Marcus's arterial system, trying to open the blockage without causing further damage. 3 hours of monitoring his heart function, adjusting medications, making split-second decisions that would determine whether my brother lived or died. At the 2-hour mark, the angioplasty failed. The blockage was too severe, too calcified. We had no choice. We're going to full bypass, I announced. Get him 2 or 1. I need the complete surgical team. Let's move. The emergency cab took another 4 hours. 4 hours of stopping my brother's heart, rerouting his blood flow through a machine, harvesting a vein from his leg to bypass the blocked artery, restarting his heart and hoping it would beat on its own. 4 hours of being the only thing standing between Marcus and death. Beautiful work, Dr. Cooper, Dr. Morrison said as we closed. That was some of the finest cardiac surgery I've ever witnessed. Team effort, I said, but I was satisfied. The surgery had gone as well as possible given the circumstances. Marcus would live. He'd need months of recovery and significant lifestyle changes, but he'd live. I stripped off my surgical gloves and headed to the waiting room where Jessica was pacing frantically. My parents had arrived at some point. I could see them through the window, sitting together on the institutional chairs, looking older and more frightened than I'd ever seen them. Jessica saw me first. She rushed over, her face blotchy from crying. "Are you a doctor? Is Marcus okay?" "They won't tell me anything, just that the chief of cardiac surgery is operating on him." "Is he alive? Please tell me he's alive." "Marcus is stable," I said gently. "The surgery went well. He had a severe blockage in his left anterior descending artery, the widowmaker we call it. We had to perform emergency coronary artery bypass grafting. He'll need several weeks of recovery, but the prognosis is good." "Oh, thank God," Jessica sobbed. "Thank you. Thank you so much. You saved his life. You saved my husband's life." Mom and Dad had approached during this exchange. They stood behind Jessica, and I saw the exact moment they recognized me. The shock, the confusion, the dawning comprehension. "Rachel," Mom whispered. "What are you doing here?" "I work here," I said calmly. But you said you had to leave for an emergency. You're wearing scrubs. You look like..." She trailed off, unable to complete the thought. "Dr. Cooper?" A voice called from behind me. One of the residents was approaching with a tablet. "Sorry to interrupt, but we need your signature on the post-op orders for the Foster case. Also, the hospital board wants to know if you'll be available for the cardiac wing expansion meeting tomorrow morning." I took the tablet, reviewed the orders, and signed them digitally. "Tell the board I'll be there. And make sure Mr. Foster's cardiac rehab program is scheduled for next week." "Yes, Dr. Cooper." "Thank you, Dr. Cooper." The resident left. My family stood frozen, staring at me like I'd suddenly transformed into a different person. "Dr. Cooper?" Dad repeated faintly. "That's my name," I confirmed. "Dr. Rachel Cooper, Chief of Cardiac Surgery at Metropolitan General Hospital. I've held that position for the last 6 years." "That's impossible," Jessica said, but her voice lacked conviction. Marcus said you work in the hospital, but you're not a doctor. You failed the MCAT 4 times." "I never took the MC," I said quietly. "I didn't need to. I got into Stanford Medical School on early acceptance when I was 20. I graduated at the top of my class 4 years later. I completed my cardiothoracic surgery residency at Johns Hopkins. I've been a practicing cardiac surgeon for 8 years. But..." Mom's face was crumbling. "But you said you were taking certification exams. You said you failed medical exams." "I never said any of that," I corrected gently. "You assumed." "I was taking board recertification exams, standard procedures that all surgeons undergo every few years. I've never failed a single one. But every time I tried to explain, you talked over me, told me I was delusional, suggested I give up on my fantasy of being a doctor." "The MCT failures," Dad said slowly. "Marcus said." "Marcus was wrong," I said. "He saw some mail from the American Board of Thoracic Surgery and assumed it was MCT results. I tried to correct him, but he was already laughing about it, already telling the family I'd failed again. It was easier to just let you all believe what you wanted." "Easier." Mom's voice broke. "Rachel, you let us think you were a failure. You let us think you were barely scraping by, working some entry-level hospital job. How could that be easier?" "Because the alternative was fighting for recognition I was never going to get," I said, and felt something crack open inside me. "Every time I tried to tell you about medical school, you said I was lying. When I invited you to my graduation from Stanford, you said it was probably a degree mill and you weren't wasting your time. When I was featured in Cardiac Surgery Today for pioneering a new bypass technique, I sent you the article. Dad, you threw it away without reading it. The silence that followed was absolute. So I stopped trying," I continued. "I built my career, I saved lives, and I let you think whatever you wanted to think. It hurt less than constantly fighting for validation that never came." "Oh my God," Jessica whispered. She was staring at me with a new expression. Not pity or condescension, but horror. "You just operated on Marcus. You just saved his life. And at dinner you called me support staff," I finished. "You said I wasn't smart enough for medicine. You said I was wasting my life on a fantasy." I paused. "You were wrong, Rachel," Dad said, and his voice was shaking. "I don't understand. Why didn't you fight harder to make us see the truth?" "Because I shouldn't have had to fight at all," I said quietly. "You're my family. You should have believed in me. You should have supported me. Instead, you spent 10 years assuming I was incompetent and mocking me for it. We didn't know, Mom protested weakly. You didn't want to know, I said, echoing words I'd spoken to another family months ago. There's a plaque in the main lobby listing the hospital's chiefs of surgery. My name is on it. You've walked past it dozens of times. You never even looked. I gestured to the wall behind them, where framed photos of the hospital's department heads hung in a neat row. My official portrait was there. Dr. Rachel Cooper, Chief of Cardiac Surgery, standing in front of an operating room in full surgical gear. That's been there for 6 years, I said. You've been in this hospital at least 20 times. When Marcus had his appendix out, when Dad had his knee surgery, when Mom had that scare with the mammogram. Every time you walked right past that photo and never recognized your own daughter. The reality of it seemed to hit them all at once. Jessica actually swayed on her feet, grabbing a chair for support. Can I see him? She asked weakly. Can I see Marcus? Soon, I said. He's in recovery now. He's still sedated but stable. Dr. Morrison will come get you when he's ready for visitors. Will you be his surgeon? Jessica asked. For the follow-up care? Of course, I said. He's my brother. I'll make sure he gets the best care possible. Because you're the best, Dad said softly, and there were tears in his eyes now. Because he's family, I corrected, just as I had with another patient's family. Though yes, I am very good at my job. Rachel, Mom started, but I held up a hand. I need to check on my other patients, I said. There are 3 more surgeries scheduled for tomorrow and I have rounds in an hour. Dr. Morrison will update you on Marcus's condition. Wait, Dad said urgently. Please. We need to talk about this. We need to apologize. You can apologize to Marcus when he wakes up, I said. Apologize for the stress that contributed to his heart attack. Apologize for teaching him that success means tearing other people down. Apologize for creating a family dynamic where mockery passed for love. That's not fair, Mom protested. Isn't it? I asked. Marcus learned somewhere that it was acceptable to spend an entire dinner telling me I was a failure. He learned that from watching how you treated me. How you all treated me. I started to walk away, but Jessica's voice stopped me. The exam, she said quietly. At dinner, when Marcus asked about another failed exam. What was that really? I turned back. Board recertification in advanced cardiac procedures. I passed with the highest score in the country. They're naming a new surgical technique after me. The Cooper method for minimally invasive coronary bypass. The information hung in the air between us. Jesus Christ, Jessica breathed. We were so cruel to you. And the whole time you were. I was exactly who I've always been, I said. A cardiac surgeon. The chief of my department. Someone who saves lives every single day. You just never bothered to see it. Dr. Morrison appeared at that moment, saving me from further conversation. Dr. Cooper? Mr. Foster is awake and asking for his wife. Also, the hospital administrator wants to speak with you about the media requests. Apparently word got out that you successfully performed emergency surgery on a patient with a 95% LAD blockage. Cardiac surgery departments across the country are requesting details on your approach. Tell administration I'll handle media requests after I've completed my rounds, I said. And yes, Mrs. Foster can see her husband now. Dr. Morrison, please escort her to recovery. Jessica looked between me and Dr. Morrison, still processing. Media requests? Other hospitals want to know what you did. The surgery Dr. Cooper performed was extremely complex, Dr. Morrison explained. Very few surgeons could have pulled it off successfully. Your husband is alive because he had the best cardiac surgeon in the state operating on him. In the country, I corrected mildly. According to the American College of Cardiology's rankings. Dr. Morrison smiled. In the country, he agreed. Mrs. Foster, if you'll follow me? Jessica left with Dr. Morrison, casting one more shocked glance back at me. My parents remained standing in the waiting room like lost children. Rachel, Mom said finally. Can we please talk? Really talk? About what? I asked. About how you spent 10 years telling me I wasn't smart enough. About how you consistently dismissed every achievement I mentioned. About how you taught Marcus that it was acceptable to mock his own sister. We made a terrible mistake, Dad said. We were wrong about you. Completely wrong. Can you forgive us? I looked at them. These people who'd given birth to me, raised me, and then spent a decade systematically undermining everything I'd achieved. Part of me wanted to rage at them, to list every hurt, every dismissal, every casual cruelty. Part of me wanted them to hurt the way I'd hurt. I was tired. So tired of carrying this weight. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. But not today. Today I have patients who need me. People who depend on me. Lives to save. Can we see Marcus with you? Mom asked. Can we be there when you check on him? I considered that. If Marcus wants you there, yes. But I'm his doctor first, his sister second. In that room what I say goes. Understood. They nodded eagerly, desperately. I led them through the hospital corridors, past the plaques and photos and awards they'd never noticed. Past the cardiac excellence wing that I'd designed and funded. Past the research laboratories where we were pioneering new surgical techniques. Past the memorial wall with photos of patients I'd saved. Over 3,000 surgeries in 8 years, one of the highest success rates in the country. This is incredible, Dad whispered, looking around. You did all this? I helped, I said. The cardiac program at Metropolitan General was struggling when I arrived. We've transformed it into one of the top programs in the nation. We attract patients from around the world. And you're the chief, Mom said, as if finally understanding. You're in charge of all of this. Yes. We reached Marcus's recovery room. He was awake, pale and weak, but alive. Jessica was holding his hand, crying quietly. Marcus's eyes found mine when I entered. Rachel. His voice was hoarse from the breathing tube. What are you doing here? I'm your surgeon, I said simply. I performed your emergency coronary artery bypass grafting approximately 3 hours ago. You had a 95% blockage in your left anterior descending artery. We had to harvest a saphenous vein from your left leg to create a bypass around the blockage. Marcus stared at me. You're my surgeon? I'm the chief of cardiac surgery at Metropolitan General, I said. I have been for 6 years. Before that, I completed my residency at Johns Hopkins after graduating from Stanford Medical School. But, Marcus looked confused, disoriented. But you failed the MC, you said. I never took the MC, I interrupted gently. I was accepted to Stanford on early admission. I graduated at the top of my class. I've never failed a medical exam in my life, Marcus. You just assumed I had, and I was too tired to keep correcting you. I watched the realization wash over his face. The memories of every mocking comment, every dismissive laugh, every casual cruelty. All of it directed at the person who just saved his life. Oh God, he whispered. At dinner I said. You said a lot of things, I agreed. You said I wasn't doctor material. You said I was wasting my life. You called me support staff. You spent an hour explaining why I'd never be good enough. I was wrong, Marcus said, and tears were streaming down his face now. I was so wrong. You just saved my life. You're a surgeon. You're the chief of surgery. How could I have been so blind? Because you wanted to be, I said quietly. Because it made you feel superior to think you were the successful one, the smart one, the one who made something of himself. It was easier to mock me than to actually see me. I'm sorry, Marcus said, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry. For everything. For all of it. I pulled up his charts on the tablet, reviewing his vitals. Your heart function is stable. The bypass is holding well. You'll need to stay in the ICU for at least 48 hours, then move to the cardiac recovery wing. You're looking at 6 weeks of rest, followed by 3 months of cardiac rehabilitation. Rachel, Marcus said urgently. Please. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I was horrible to you. But please, can you ever forgive me? I looked at my brother. The golden child, the successful one, the Princeton graduate who'd spent years making sure I knew I'd never measure up. Now broken and vulnerable, dependent on my expertise for his survival. I'm your doctor, I said finally. I'll make sure you receive the best possible care. I'll personally oversee your recovery. I'll do everything in my power to ensure you live a long, healthy life. But as my sister? Marcus asked. Can you forgive me as my sister? Ask me again when you've completed cardiac rehab, I said. Ask me when you've had time to think about why you needed to tear me down to feel good about yourself. Ask me when you're ready to actually see me as I am, not as you wanted me to be. Marcus nodded weakly, accepting the boundary I'd set. I turned to address the room at large. Marcus, Jessica, my parents. Visiting hours in the ICU are limited. 2 people maximum 15 minutes every hour. He needs rest. Dr. Morrison will be his attending physician during recovery, but I'll be checking on him daily. Any questions? Will he be okay? Jessica asked. Really okay? If he follows the recovery protocol, maintains a heart-healthy diet, reduces stress, and completes his cardiac rehab program, yes. He'll need lifestyle changes, but he can live a full life. The stress thing, Dad said quietly. Does that mean did we contribute to this? I met his eyes. Stress is a major contributing factor to cardiac events. Family dynamics, work pressure, lifestyle choices, they all play a role. The implication hung in the air. I didn't need to say it explicitly. We'll do better, Mom said firmly. We'll support him. We'll be better. Good, I said. He'll need that support. Cardiac recovery is as much mental as physical. My pager went off. I have other patients, I said. Dr. Morrison will update you every hour. If there are any changes in Marcus's condition, you'll be notified immediately. I started to leave, but Marcus's voice stopped me one more time. Rachel, thank you for saving my life. For being better than all of us. I turned back, looking at my brother, really looking at him, for the first time in years. Past the arrogance and the mockery, I saw something I hadn't expected. Genuine remorse. You're welcome, I said quietly. Rest now. We'll talk more when you're stronger. I left the recovery room and made my way to the surgical floor, where 3 more patients awaited my rounds. A 72-year-old grandmother who needed a valve replacement. A 50-year-old teacher recovering from a double bypass. A 45-year-old father of 3 awaiting evaluation for a potential transplant. Lives. People who depended on me, who trusted me, who believed in my expertise without question. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Thank you doesn't begin to cover it. You're amazing. Then one from Mom. Can we talk tomorrow? Please. Then Dad, I'm so proud of you. I should have said that years ago. I stared at the messages for a long moment, then pocketed my phone. The words were nice, but they were just words. Proving themselves would take time, effort, consistency. Maybe they'd do it. Maybe they wouldn't. Either way, I'd be fine. I stopped at the window overlooking the city, the lights stretching out in all directions. My hospital. My department. My patients. My life's work. Dr. Cooper? One of the residents appeared beside me. Mrs. Henderson in room 412 is asking for you. She wants to know if you'll be performing her valve replacement tomorrow. Yes, I said. Let her know I'll be by to discuss the procedure in about 20 minutes. She said she specifically requested you because you're the best cardiac surgeon in the country. That's kind of her, I said. It's not just kind, the resident said earnestly. It's true. Everyone knows you're the best. We're all lucky to train under you. I smiled slightly. Thank you. That means a lot. The resident left and I remained at the window for one more moment, letting the peace of the evening settle over me. I was Dr. Rachel Cooper, Chief of Cardiac Surgery, one of the top surgeons in the country. Someone who'd saved thousands of lives through skill, dedication, and relentless pursuit of excellence. My family hadn't seen it, hadn't believed it, hadn't supported it. But I'd done it anyway. And maybe that was the real victory, not proving them wrong but succeeding despite them. Building a career so impressive, so undeniable, that even their dismissal couldn't diminish it. I pulled out my phone and sent a group text to my parents and Marcus. Family therapy. All of us. If you're serious about rebuilding, we do it properly with professional help. Let me know. 3 responses came within minutes. All said yes. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a possibility. A door left open. For now, though, I had Mrs. Henderson waiting. I had surgeries to plan, residents to teach, lives to save. I was exactly where I was supposed to be, doing exactly what I was meant to do. And I was damn good at it. My family would just have to catch up.